Welcome to the Dirt Broadcast. Dig into the bottom of every situation to get to the truth. Here's your host, Jason Mills.
Hello, folks. Hope everybody's doing good out there and having loads of fun in this heat. Give everybody just a few minutes, like always, to get on here and all that kind of good thing while I get all my other things pulled up here. And remember to like, share, comment. We appreciate it. If I get my phone to cooperate here, yeah, a lot happier. Again, welcome to the Dirt Podcast. We appreciate you joining us today. I just noticed the date on my podcast here is not correct, but maybe that's just on my end. I don't know. But anyways, again, remember to like, share, comment, ask any question you have, all that kind of good stuff. We'll get started in just a minute or two. Like always, we just like to get everybody a chance to log on and all that kind of good stuff. Whew. Let me know if you can hear this fan blowing at me. I don't know if you can hear it or not. My microphone's kind of close to it. So if you can, let me know and I'll move it or turn it off or do. It's really hot out here in this building that I'm in. And my air conditioner just went out over there for some reason. But it doesn't help a whole lot in this shed anyway. But anywho, once again, welcome to the Dirt Podcast. We appreciate you joining us here this evening. Good evening, Miss Beeler. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's staying hydrated out there and drinking lots of water and all that kind of good stuff. I'm not drinking lots of water. I'm drinking, of course, lots of Dr. Pepper. But stay cool, stay hydrated, all those kinds of good things. We want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself because we need y'all healthy and ready for the fight against those that don't want to treat us so good. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, let me know if you can hear the fan that's blowing over here, and I'll turn it off or something. But it's really hot. Sure, all y'all know that. But I am actually in a storage building. That's where my studio is, and so it's extra hot in here. But hopefully, we can make it through. Anyways, remember to like, share, comment, ask any question you have. Did you miss me? That's my question. Did you miss me? I've been gone for a few weeks. I got my laptop fixed and hopefully it's working better and running better. And I had well, you don't need to know all the details about my laptop, but had to put some more RAM in it. That was basically the biggest problem. The other problem, of course, is the internet out here in Big Ridge, but I can't control that until Scott County Telephone gets us hooked up to the internet out here. But anyway, hope everybody is doing well. I'm just trying to give everybody just another minute. But all right, let's go ahead and get started. Have you been gone? I did go. I think I've not had a podcast in 3 weeks. I think it's been, if I remember correctly, the first 2 weeks I went on vacation from Tuesday to Tuesday. And so that took care of 2 podcasts there. And then this past Tuesday, my laptop wouldn't cooperate. And so I had to cancel that podcast. And hence the fact that I had to get it worked on. And a laptop only had 4 gigs of RAM in it. And now we've got 16. So hopefully we're running a lot better and that kind of thing. So that's a skinny on that. Those of you are new to the podcast or just seeing it for the first time, if you don't want to follow me on Facebook, that's fine. You can follow the Dirt Podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and a new one. It's called Kick. We just added that. It's KICK. Kick. You can download that if you want from the Play Store or online and that kind of thing. But it's KICK. It's just the Dirt Podcast on there. We also on TennesseeFeeds.com. And of course, Rumble, all one word, is the Dirt Podcast UC. So you can follow me on any one of those. We're trying to get you as many options out there as possible, just so you might not like Facebook, you might not like YouTube, you might not like Rumble, and just give you another option there. So yeah. First and foremost, let me say to remember to pray for the family and friends of Andrew Woods. He passed away this morning after a courageous battle with lung cancer. Gone way too soon, gone way too young. Andrew was a friend of mine, and a friend of my family's, and lots of people. He was a volunteer firefighter, a detective, Union County Sheriff's Department, and most importantly, he was just an awesome guy, right? He'd do anything for you that he can. He'd help you out in any situation he could, and he would just do everything possible for those that were in need, whether it was just as a friend or if it was, during a fire emergency or during, just anything that might have happened, you had to deal with him during the Sheriff's Department. So Andrew's going to be missed by many, 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 many people. And sad time, great loss. He's been out here at the house a few times and that kind of thing. And, my oldest son, Robert, is volunteer firefighter as well. And they've been on many, many scenes together. And, Andrew's just going to be missed. And, you can't say enough good things about Andrew. And I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about Andrew. So, like I said, a great guy, a great friend, just all around great person. So just remember him and his family and his friends in your prayers. And when I say his family, I mean his biological family, but also the family in blue, the family in red, the other firefighters and police officers that worked side by side and that kind of thing. So just remember them. I know it's hard. I know it's and the 911 dispatchers. He was a dispatcher as well. So remember all of those folks. It's it's a tragic loss for a lot of people, but ultimately he's no longer in pain, and now he's looking on the face of Jesus, and he's in a better place. And I know that's kind of people get tired of hearing that and that kind of thing, but ultimately Andrew was a fighter till the end, and he always had a smile on his face, and it's just such a great loss, and it breaks my heart, and I don't really have the words to express how I'm truly feeling about that loss. But y'all that know Andrew know what I'm saying, and I just wish there was a lot more like him. I wish there was a way that he didn't have to go through what he went through, and he was still here with us. But at the same time, I wouldn't take him away from those streets of gold, and and that kind of thing. And if I could ask him to do one more thing, I'd ask him to as he enters heaven, and after he goes and looks at the face of Jesus and all those things, when he gets done celebrating his arrival there, his homecoming in heaven, I'd ask him to go find my mama and just hug her around her neck and tell her I miss her. I talk about my mom quite often on here, and her birthday's in 3 days. So last year, 3 days from now, we were celebrating her birthday. Little did I know that exactly a month from her birthday, I'd have to say goodbye. So just remember to hug your loved ones and tell them you love them, because you never know what's going to happen, that kind of thing. Also remember the Knox County deputy that got hit in the head and that kind of thing, and pray for him to have a speedy recovery and all those kinds of things. And that's just another example of you never know what's going to happen. So just remember one for another, okay? All right, let's move on, okay? I appreciate everybody's comments and prayers and all those kinds of things. And We appreciate everybody that watches these podcasts and all those kinds of things. I'm not ignoring your comments. I just can't read them. Anyways, Ricky, I know you're going through a lot too, and I'll be praying for you too, and your family, and all that. But again, remember Andrew and everybody that he's ever touched. All right. So let's talk about last night. Get myself together here. Hold on. Let's get what y'all here for, okay? Let's talk about last night's county commission meeting. I was a little disappointed, only because I was the only one there. I know everybody's got lives, and I know it's hot out and all this kind of thing. And I know I didn't have the podcast for several weeks to, remind everybody that county commission meeting was going on or whatever. But staying on top of these meetings and finding out what's going on with your local government is very important, and I can't stress that enough. Let's see. I'm just going to look at these comments real quick because it's killing me. Yes, he was one of the good ones. Pray for him and his family and friends. He was good. Yes, he was. I miss her more than I could ever say. I know you met my mom, Ricky. Y'all used to tease each other a little bit. All right, we're caught up on those. All right, last night was county commission meeting. It was fairly uneventful, but it was eventful at the same time. We'll go through that as much as possible. Again, you folks know when I go through the county commission meeting, I basically tell it like it happened. And so I know sometimes it's boring and that kind of thing, but I don't know how another way to make it more entertaining than just telling you what happened. Okay. Of course, we went through the normal steps, the pledge and all that kind of good stuff. And so we get down to number 11. Let's talk about number 11. Number 11 was the Matthew Hill guy that's supposed to have been here for the internet and that kind of thing. This is like the 4th or 5th time he was supposed to be there. Didn't show up again for whatever reason. So we'll give him a pass again, I guess. But he did show up last meeting and was supposed to come back this meeting with a map of the service area for Big Ridge and that kind of thing, but did not. Middle school construction updates. There was an email that the school superintendent sent to county commission and the mayor as far as the middle school construction updates. However, the mayor said he wasn't going to read that email. And so I don't know what the updates are because they weren't discussed. But Mr. Clay's mom did have open heart surgery. So remember that family in your prayers as well. And that's why he wasn't there to give that update in person. Audit committee report. Conveniently, your audit committee is headed up by Commissioner Sidney Jesse. And the only thing that the audit committee found was contractor payments for the school system were not deposited in an escrow account to be held until it was time to pay those payments like it is required. And so that was the only thing that the audit committee, the audit committee found. So other than that, I guess the audit committee says the county's doing a really good job. So take that for what it's worth. Whew, it's hot out here. Let's back up a minute up to the county mayor's report. Some of the things that the county commission had a vote on during that section was, and kind of the finance section of the commission meeting, was several things involving the budget. So one of the things that they had to vote on was changing the amount of the hotel motel tax that the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber gets from the hotel motel tax. So used to they get 50% of all the hotel motel tax. Well, the county commission changed that because county needs more money because we're spending more than we're bringing in. So the county said, y'all ain't getting 50% anymore. We're changing that to 30%. So that was one of the things. There was only one no vote on that, and that was Danny Cook voted no. That did pass. One of the other things that was voted on was the contribution section for nonprofits. And they did, put a cap on what they donate, and then they voted right after that and went above that cap. But either way, the contributions nonprofit section did pass. There were 3 no votes on that, and that was Mike Bowles, Greg Dyer, and Ashley Mike. Those voted no on that. And then the budget in total, which I didn't get to go through like I did last year and the year before, line by line. The only thing I've seen is the summary, and you can't really tell a whole lot about the summary or by the summary. But either way, the whole budget did pass. There were 3 no votes on that. Mike Bowles, Greg Dyer, and Don Flatford all voted no on passing the budget, but it did pass. So keep in mind, folks, when you hear that these sudden no votes on things that they normally would vote yes, not all of them, but some of them, keep in mind that election season's coming, and so don't be fooled. Don't let them pull the wool over your eyes and that kind of thing, and look at them like, oh, they're finally standing up for us. They ain't standing up for us. They're finally saying, it's close to election time. We've got to make us look good, okay? Not all of them, but some of them. So the tax levy is still at 1.8999, and all voted yes on that and passed that. It didn't change, but don't let that confuse you either, because there's going to be some tax increases coming, folks. Let me tell you, it's just the way it's going to be, especially if nobody shows up to these meetings. Speaking of the meetings, there's no July meetings coming unless there's something that happens. County Commission never meets, or there's no meetings normally in the month of July. They start back up in August. And that's just to give them a break, I guess. And because they work so hard and go to so many meetings during the month of July, working on a budget, or June, working on a budget in May, that kind of thing. That's the reason behind it. But they still get paid for the month of July. But let me tell you, every county is different, right? That's just a little side note. Every county is different, and Union County gets, what is it, 500 or 600, whatever it is. I don't even remember. Partly because I'm burning up out here, but it's whatever it is, and every county is different. So like Granger County, they make $250 dollars a month, but Granger County gets paid per meeting, and so they get $125 for every meeting they attend. So we could be in worse shape, I guess. We could. I probably shouldn't have said that. Now Union County is going to change it so they can get paid differently. But tell Wyatt I said hi. But and Waylon, I ain't forgot Waylon. But that's how Granger County does it. So if they go to one meeting, the commissioners out there get $250, and then every additional meeting is another $125. So if there's only one meeting a month and they're not on any boards or anything like that, they make $250. But like I said, every county is different, and but I just thought that was interesting. So one of the other things I wrote down, the mayor, there was $10,000 moved back into the general fund because the mayor decided that he would be a great guy and give $10,000 out of his budget for a repair or for rock or something. I couldn't understand what they were talking about, but gave $10,000 out of his budget to be moved back into the general fund to pay for whatever. He was really proud of that. He actually made a little thing about that, and even yelled at Gerald Simmons and told him, look at what the mayor did. So I guess congratulations. So trying to get the small things out of the way, so we can talk about the main thing the county commission meeting was about, other than the budget. The mayor did ask to appoint some folks, or reappoint some folks to the library board, and Sydney Jesse has been reappointed. Charlie Hamilton from the school board has been put back on the library board, and somebody else did, but I didn't catch their name. I just think it's funny that Sydney Jesse is on every board, seems like, that there is. He's on the jail committee, he's on the audit committee, he's on the library board, he's on this, he's on that. It just seems like he just got his hands on everything. Anyways, all right. So the biggest thing about the county commission meeting last night was this new jail. And there was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of back and forth. And there's no idea, none, zero, of how they're going to pay for it. Matter of fact, there's not even a cost to it yet, because they had a vote last night to hire an architect. So they voted to get a contract with Spirit Architecture. They're going to charge 7% for whatever it costs to build this jail. Not only 7% of just the cost, but let's say there's an overage. Let's say there's something that surprises everybody. Hello. So let's say that this is just a number, okay? This isn't the number. It's just a number. Let's say it costs $30 million to build this jail. And then they run into a problem like rock at the middle school, and it's going to now cost $35 million. Well, this architect is going to get 7% of not only the 30 million, but the extra 5 million. He's going to get 7% of that too. He's going to get 7% of the entire cost of building the jail. So whatever the final line is, the final cost, this architect is going to get 7%. I'm in the wrong business. But there were some county commissioners that were having a fit. They thought 7% was too much. One of those was Danny Cook. I think Greg Dyer had some questions about it. Don Flatford questioned the fact of how we even going to pay for it. Again, look at what I said a minute ago about election season coming. But anyways, there's some of the things that they're going to have to pay for, like the grade of the property that they're looking at, the Lowe's Hubs property. They're going to have to, according to what the architect said that was there last night, part of the contract actually says they're going to have to change the grade of the property from 50 to 75%. That's a lot of moving dirt and all those kinds of good things. But it may not be that until they actually get over there, and it's going to be a lot to go on as far as the core drilling goes, and they're going to apparently get some drones up and take some pictures from overhead and try to figure out the flattest part and yada, yada, yada. So with that being said, everybody's, bet you haven't heard about it, but everybody's invited to some meetings with the architect. It's in the small courtroom for the jail, so you can give your ideas of what you might want. I'm sure they don't really want to know from us regular citizens, because you know what do we matter? But you're invited. Everybody's invited to a meeting started today, tomorrow, and Thursday in the small courtroom from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Conveniently, it's during the time that most people have to work. But anyways, you're invited 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. small courtroom at the courthouse today. Of course, you missed it. Tomorrow and Thursday, and they're hoping to have pretty much a final idea by Thursday on what the new jail needs and kind of going to look like and all those kind of things. Gerald Simmons had a problem with hiring an architect and voting to hire an architect without even having a property bought to put the building on. And so then it got thrown. Well, we've got an option to buy this Lowe's Hubs property and yada, yada, yada. And then he came back with, well, what if that property's no good? And then the mayor said, well, at least we'll have a plan for the jail. And, you know, again, like always, failure to look ahead and trying to put the cart before the horse, just like the middle school. They hurried up and bought the property, didn't buy all the property, just bought part of the property. Didn't figure out that they had all this rock and all this stuff that was going to cost extra money. And then, and like I said, didn't buy all the property. So when they decided on the final way the building was going to be and that kind of thing, they said, oh, well, we should buy the other property so we can make it bigger because it's too small. And guess what? The folks that own the property said, oh, you done bought that property. This property is going to cost you way more. And you should have bought it when you had a chance. And so now they're stuck. And now the new middle school is what the new middle school is. And basically is already too small before it even opens. And so, and the way Union County is growing, You know, I don't know what we're going to do. And, they're talking about the elementary schools, or Manorville Elementary specifically, doesn't have enough room. And so now they're going to talk about using the old middle school as more classrooms for the elementary school. My question is, since we're already overcrowded in so many schools, what happens when these elementary school folks, our children, get up to the middle school? And we're already busting at the seams. Again, failure to plan ahead, failure to focus on the future. It's all about here and now and what we want right now. And that's going to play on and some of the other things that are said here in just a minute. But it's always, let's just do it. And it's never a whole lot of thought and our common sense thinking on what if this or what if that. Just like purchasing that land for the middle school. You should have bought it all when you had the chance at a decent price. And now you're stuck because you can't, because they want a lot of money for it. But as far as the Sloas Hubs property goes, they didn't buy it. They put an option on it or a contract on it that if it meets certain requirements that the counties give, such as the core drilling and some different things, some stipulations, then the county will buy it if it passes all those, if it checks all those boxes. But if one thing doesn't pass what they want it to be, then the county can back out of actually purchasing that property. So no, it is not purchased yet. It has to go through all those perk tests and all those other tests that they've got to do on the property before they actually purchase it. But they did vote to purchase it if it passes. So that, I hope that answers your question, Miss Beeler. So some of the things that you look forward to are they're going to make the road to the jail and the new jail, if the Lois Hubs property is the property, off Prospect. So those of you that live out that way, look forward to that more traffic, especially during construction and all that kind of stuff. Next to what is known as the county barn, and where the old school buses used to be stored and that kind of thing. They're hoping to get it, the bids started in the spring, which means that they pretty much have to have this architect stuff done and this all these tests and things like that done to purchase the property by September-ish. And if they go much past September, then they will have to kind of back up on the spring start date to get bids. And they're hoping to have the schematic design finished by September. So if they make, let's say this architect gets done with a schematic design by September, and then the county says, you know what, let's just wait on building a jail right now. Let's just wait. Let's just put a pause on it. Well, the county's going to owe this architect $1 million right off the bat if the design development's finished. And what did I say? They plan on having this pretty much wrapped up by Thursday evening on what their design is kind of going to be. Of course, they got to do the blueprints and all the fine tuning and all that. But, the final presentation of what they think that the jail should look like and that kind of thing, is going to be tentatively scheduled. Final presentation will be 4 p.m. on Thursday in the small courtroom at the courthouse. If you're interested in going, head on down there, 4 p.m. They're going to have a presentation of what they pretty much envision this jail to look like, and that kind of thing. One of the things that was not discussed is the drug rehab. If you remember, part of the deal is they're getting a couple more extra acres, but they have to build a drug rehab. And of course, the mayor was quick to point out, wait. That's going to be paid for out of the opioid fund, so we don't even need to discuss that right now, and blah, blah, blah. Either way, it's going to cost us something somewhere, I'm sure. Why do I say that? Well, I overheard a conversation that I probably wasn't supposed to hear outside on the sidewalk after the meeting, and certain commissioners are making plans for this drug rehab already. And the quote that I heard was, well, this drug rehab, we'll use it so the county can make some money. So if you've got a loved one that is an addict, some of these county commissioners aren't looking at that person as an addict or a person that needs help or something like that. They're looking at them as dollar signs. Imagine that. You pay your taxes and you're a number, you're a dollar sign. You pay your property tax, you're a dollar sign. Well, apparently, if you're a drug addict, you're going to be a dollar sign too, according to what I heard some of these commissioners talking about outside. And this drug rehab is going to make the county some money. So back to the jail. You'll love this one, Commissioner Brownlee, on this What's in Your Wallet. So I believe it was Danny Cook, I believe. It could have been Greg Dyer. I don't remember which one. But one of them said, so your architect rate is going to be $1,600 per hour. I wish I made that much money an hour. And I know it's a business, an architect business, and I know they're specialized and all this, but $1,600 an hour to be an architect on this jail. Holy Jesus. I wish I made $1,600 an hour. Hey, guess where that's money coming from? That's coming from your taxes. That's coming from you. I hope you're prepared to pay it. Oh, wait. It gets better. If the planning process gets through to a point where they call the programming phase, and that's when they start, looking at contractors and all this. If they make it to that and the county decides, wait a minute, we need to take a pause, this architect is still going to get 5% of what the cost would be. Even if we say, oh, nope, time out, still going to get 5%. Whoo! My wallet's hurting already. How about yours? Oh, wait, it's okay, though. It is perfectly okay. Because according to Commissioner Jesse, debt services are part of one of the lines in the budget. Debt services already has money set aside to get started. It's not money to completely pay for the jail, but it's money to get started on this process. Again, folks, this is our tax money. Our monies that we paid in, our will tax, our property tax, our all these taxes. But it's okay. We've already got money to get started. Oh, wait. Something else that Sidney Jesse decided he wants to get the architect on the hook, on record saying that no matter what, Union County is going to get a new jail. No matter how they've got to change the plans or whatever. So with that being said, the current plan is for 175 beds in the new jail. But depending on how much money they can figure out how to stiff us with, how much money they can get out of us without us rising up and demanding no, Commissioner Jesse said, well, even if we have to go down to 150 beds or 125 or even as low as 100 beds, we're still going to get this new jail. We're going to get it done. We're going to build this jail. Mr. Architect, can you agree with that? Mr. Architect says, I ain't got nothing to do with coming up with the money, but I will draw you, I will make you, I will build you a new jail, whatever size, how many beds you want. You tell me what you want, we'll make it happen. Because I ain't got nothing to do with raising the money for it. Thought that was kind of funny, kind of telling, if you think about it. So we're going to go, we're just going to, just because we want to build a building, just because we want to put our name on a new jail, we're going to go with however many beds we can come up with, even if it's 100. Let me tell you, and again, let me throw this out here. I always got to put this little stipulation out there. I've never once said that we don't need a new jail. I'm just saying, how are we going to pay for it? With that being said, if we do 100 bed, if we spend millions of dollars to build a 100-bed jail, how is that making us any better than we already are, other than getting a new jail? Why do I say that? Well, quite often, the current jail we have has over 100 people in it. Just like the middle school, the new middle school, we're just going to build it just for now. Hopefully, we're smarter than that. Hopefully, we build it big enough to where we can have room to grow and that kind of thing. But if we do something dumb like that, if we, and as we, I mean as a county, agree to lower our standards so much just so we can build this building that it's not actually, other than being a new building, solving the issue, the overcrowding and all those kinds of things, then what's the point? What's the point in stiffing us taxpayers? And they're going to raise taxes. They've got to come up with the money some way to build it. So they're going to stiff us and build this thing by any means necessary, even if it means not solving the issue that they keep saying is why we need a new building. You know, the overcrowding. I thought the funds were already there from grants with the government. That is not correct. They have no idea. They even said it themselves. No idea where the money is going to come from to build this new jail. Matter of fact, next line I've got my finger on the list here that I wrote. Famous line, Mr. Mayor Bailey says, we have to stop kicking the can down the road and go ahead and get this done. And of course, the famous Commissioner Walker comes back with the 5-year plan. I've picked this 5-year plan apart so many times and exposed it for what it is. It's nothing but an idea to get you to agree we've got to build a new jail. The 5-year plan has been over for 2 or 3 years now, if we want to go by the 5-year plan. But the 5-year plan basically just gave the county instructions on, okay, we need to do some things to satisfy the state so that you can still be in compliance and be certified and all these kinds of things. That jail's not been certified in a while now, just number one. Number two, before a few years ago, for years, the jail wasn't certified. So just being a certified jail doesn't mean a whole lot, okay? The only thing certified means is you can't house federal or state prisoners. Well, if we're already overcrowded and we're having problems, why are we trying to house federal or state prisoners anyway? Get my point? The 5-year plan is just something, smoke and mirrors, my favorite thing to say, smoke and mirrors. 5-year plan is the same thing as, remember when they used the smoke and mirrors and they got all y'all convinced that we couldn't use the middle school anymore because it was mold and all this stuff? Same thing. It's what the 5-year plan, mold. Same thing. Just smoke and mirrors to make you think we have to do it. And, you know, and if you remember, when all this 5-year plan talk came about and they started talking about this new jail, I questioned the sheriff at the time about this 5-year plan, and he affirmed that what I was saying about this 5-year plan is absolutely the truth. But it's easy to say we've got to build this thing, or their 5-year plan, and a federal judge is going to show up. That's another thing they brought up last night, was this federal judge thing. He can shut us down and he can make us build a jail how he wants, and he can spend all this extra money and blah, blah, blah. And they got the architect to talk about times that a federal judge got involved with building a jail. Well, first of all, is it a possibility? Yes, it's a possibility. Is it likely? No, it's not likely. Matter of fact, the architect said anytime that the judges have got, and this has to be a federal judge, right? Not just Judge Patterson or somebody. This has to be a federal judge. So the likelihood of that happening is not very high, but this architect actually said a federal judge won't get involved as long as the county is showing progress and attempting to do something to move in the direction of building a new jail. Okay. Well, we're doing something. We're getting an architect. We're getting all this. So we're doing something. So the chances of a federal judge getting involved is pretty slim. I'm not going to say unlikely just because, but it's pretty slim. Well, what evidence do we have that? Did you know that Union County actually had a federal judge get involved a few years ago, several years ago, and Larry Lay and David Myers had to go to court over building a new jail. And I believe this was maybe when Larry Lay was the mayor, perhaps. And the judge actually ended up siding with the county and said the county was doing a good job and they had a plan in place and did some things to make the jail better and more room or whatever they did and that kind of thing. And the federal judge was fine with it. Federal judge said, okay, you made plans and y'all are doing good. Don't worry about me. We're done. And dismissed the whole thing. So don't let them use this smoke and mirrors junk, a 5-year plan and all this stuff. Because that's exactly what it is. It's just a 5-year plan. It's just something they can use as an excuse to reach deeper in your pockets. Why build a jail for 100 beds and we have a jail with 100 beds? Upgrade what they have. Don't take money out of county pockets. That's what I'm saying. Could build a new jail for a new sheriff and mayor that's got some brains. Hopefully we get a new sheriff and a new mayor. And that's going to take us with some brains to go vote for better folks. That's on us. We keep electing them. We can't blame anybody but ourselves. And so, that's all I'm going to say about that right now. Why not take the old middle school, clean it up, get the mold out, put jail with the old middle school? I'll talk about that here in just a second. Let me get through this. Again, Gerald Simmons says he don't understand why they're even hiring an architect without having purchased the land to build the jail. I thought that was pretty funny. Sure I didn't miss anything I want to cover. All right. So Sidney Jesse was on one last night. He liked going after some folks, right? And so Larry Lay, going back to the middle school subject, Larry Lay said he does not like the Lois Hubbs property. Number one, apparently it floods a lot. I don't know that area very well. So if y'all know it, maybe y'all can chime in and confirm or whatever. But Larry Lay said at one point in time when the school buses were over there, that it flooded so bad that the school buses were almost covered up and that kind of thing. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know that area very well. But, there is a creek there. They're getting about, I believe they said 150 feet that they're going to be able to go between the creek and where the school buses used to be to have a right of way or a road that they're going to have to build and what have you. But so they're going to have to upgrade or put more dirt in there or do something to get it out of the floodplain, the flood zone, and that kind of thing. But Larry Lay says he does not like this property one bit. He actually wants to use the middle school or at least a football field to build the jail on. He wants the school system to give the old middle school back to the county and let the county use the old middle school for county offices so the county can stop paying rent for all these other buildings that we're paying rent for and all these kinds of things. And then they got into the discussion that they need to meet with the school board and get the school board to do that. And I believe it was Greg Dyer made the statement that, when we gave them these millions of dollars to build the new middle school, that should have been part of the stipulation when we gave them that money is that we get the old middle school. But it's too late now. They didn't make that deal. And so now it's up to the school system what they're going to do with the middle school. But Larry Lay said he would love to see that. And he actually said they could use the county offices there and save taxpayer money that. But he also went one step further and said something that I've been screaming for years, and that we could turn the old middle school into like a boys and girls club and use the gym and that kind of thing for the kids. Well, as soon as he said for the kids or for the children, Commissioner Jesse decided he'd go on the attack. And Sidney Jesse told Mr. Lay, or Commissioner Lay, you keep saying a place for the kids, but Larry, you're the very one that voted against the sports complex in Luttrell. Keeping in mind that Sidney Jesse also voted against the sports complex in Luttrell, but he called out Larry Lay for wanting something for the kids because he didn't want the sports complex for the kids, but Larry came back and said, well, I didn't want the sports complex because it was going to cost millions of dollars. And I disagree with that, but that was his reason for voting the way he did, according to him. And so I just think it's funny that if Sidney Jesse all of a sudden doesn't get his way, he goes on the attack. And he said, if you watch my video, because I've been doing the videos too. I know the UNL does theirs. I do mine. And I actually got talked about again last night for doing my video or going live. But if you watch my video, I purposely focus my camera on certain commissioners because I want you to watch their reactions. I'm giving away my secret here. That they didn't know that I'm doing this, okay? But I'm doing this on purpose. I'm videoing their faces so you can see what I'm talking about when they sit up there and make fun of people for talking, or they sit up there and make faces and make jokes and all this kind of thing, because that's what they really think about you. So yeah, watch the video if you get time from last night's podcast. Watch Sidney Jesse's face. He's up there just running that mouth constantly, shaking his head and rolling his eyes and doing all this nonsense that our public officials, our elected officials, should not be doing when they're up there supposed to be representing us as a community up there acting like a fool. My opinion, feel free to make yours. But that's Larry's plan. That's what he'd like to see done. Football field become the jail. Middle school become county offices and something like a Boys and Girls Club and that kind of thing. But again, the school system owns the middle school, so they can do what they want with the middle school ultimately. So one of the other things that I found very interesting as we're talking about the jail and all this kind of thing, here we go with Sidney Jesse again. And he's concerned about the current jail underneath the courthouse. He's worried about them prisoners down there going to set the place on fire and kill somebody. Because, of course, all the fire alarm things going off and whatever the reasons are behind it. Apparently, the mayor gets a phone call from the alarm company every time the alarm goes off and says that it's been worked on and worked on and worked on. Matter of fact, it cost us taxpayers $1,000 every time they got to come out and work on the alarm. So I'm glad we can afford to keep paying that bill to keep having the alarm company come and work on them alarms. Not only that, if you remember, folks, a while back, and this is talking about the current jail, a while back, we taxpayers, thanks to county commission, that voted to approve the request by the sheriff for new cameras at the jail. We paid $100,000, I believe, for this new camera system. Why ain't we catching some of this stuff? Oh, wait, here's another one. Our tax-paying money also went to buy this body scanner to keep this contraband from going into the jail. Why ain't we using that? How is all this contraband getting to the jail where they're, buying all or using all these cigarettes and drugs and all this stuff that's going on supposedly? I'm sure it's going on, don't get me wrong. But why are we not using the equipment that us taxpayers are paid for them to have more security in the jail? That's a good question. Commissioner Jesse actually said, I wish the sheriff would show up to these meetings so he could answer some of these questions. Hopefully, his exact words was, hopefully he's watching this video, talking about the UNL video. Will the sheriff show up and answer questions? I do not know, but we'll see. So anyway, so Commissioner Jesse's so concerned that the courthouse is going to burn down that his brilliant idea, Sidney Jesse wants to move all the inmates, every single one of them, out of the Union County Jail and pay another county to house these prisoners until the new jail is built. Why? He says it will save us money. It perhaps will save a life if this jail ever caught fire and killed somebody. I'm not real sure how it's going to save money if we ship these prisoners to another county, we have to pay that county to house these prisoners. That's the way it works. So how's that going to save us money? Not only that, but he says, well, then we don't have to pay the corrections officers anymore because we won't need them anymore. Oh, so now we're not only going to spend taxpayer money to house prisoners somewhere else, now we're even going to put Union County citizens out to pasture and make them unemployed. So now we're going to unemploy some of our taxpayers. I don't understand the logic, really. But yet we're going to build a new jail. If we don't have the right people, here's the bottom line. If we don't have the right people running the sheriff's department, the jail, and that kind of thing, then the new jail is going to be having the same problems. If we have corrections officers that aren't doing their searches, if we have corrections officers that just don't care, if we have corrections officers that are even bringing contraband in, having these same correction officers work at a brand new building isn't going to change anything. If not, maybe even makes it worse. I don't get the logic. I don't understand. And I actually spoke to several other county commissioners again after the meeting last night. And one thing that was kind of the common thing that was said was we need a new sheriff. And we need one bad. And some of the supposed people that are going to run for sheriff next August, according to some of these commissioners, aren't going to do any better of a job. A couple of these commissioners actually named a name and said if that person becomes sheriff, he's going to hire Billy and Billy's dad right back, and we'll have the same kind of situations that we already have. Do I know that to be what's actually going to happen if this person gets elected? I don't know. I'm not a future teller. But this person has said that he was going to hire Billy back. But either way, if we, the citizens of Union County, don't do our due diligence and we don't get out there and we actually vote for some folks that are actually going to do their job and do it well and actually, worry about the citizens of Union County instead of worrying about names on buildings and money in their pocket. If we don't do that, and granted, I understand that we can vote for some people and they not do what we think they're going to do. I get that. But if we don't actually get out there, we don't actually work and try to get good people in these positions, then it's our own fault. Look how much, well, you look today on the news. Here we go again, Union County. On the news again. We've got this deputy that's got these order of protections against him and that kind of thing. And yet we are paying him our taxpayer money, paying his salary while he can't work. And I'm not saying he's guilty, not guilty, anything like that. But I don't get it. I just don't understand. And then, according to the news tonight, the sheriff says that there's no plan and has never been a plan to terminate this deputy or stop paying him. Matter of fact, what the news said was that the sheriff stated that he actually talked to the county attorney trying to find a way to continue to pay this sheriff's deputy, even though he's accused of assault, basically, even though he's accused of forcing sexual situations, forcing his wife in the shower with him, and stalking and abusing a child and all these kinds of things. Watch the news, Channel 10. You see the story, look it up, whichever way you want to do it. But all this stuff, but yet we're going to find a way to continue to pay this individual. I don't understand. And I'm not going to say that. Some of you I've talked to, not on the podcast, know that I've been threatened by certain individuals during or about this situation. And I've not talked about this situation till now, but I have been threatened by some folks. So, it's what it is. I talk about it anyway. Y'all know me long enough to know I'll talk about anything, and I'll give you the truth the best I know it, and that kind of thing. But anyway, so again, bottom line, the point is, it's up to us, folks, to get good people in these positions. If it's an elected position, and if we continue to elect bad things or bad people, then we get what we get, and we get what we ask for. I know some folks that I would love to run for sheriff. And I'd love to run for mayor, but it's all about communication. It's about us getting behind candidates and showing support and, knocking on doors, talking to your neighbors, your friends, your family. And it's about standing up, not doing what happened last night at the county commission meeting, which nobody showed up. I was the only one there, minus Chip Brown. Chip Brown was there too. That's Missy Brown, the finance director's husband. He was there, and everybody else that was there were government folks, right? I think there was 5 of us total in the crowd. One of those was David Myers, county attorney. One of those was the health department director, Chip Brown, Missy Brown, and the architect, those were the 5 people that sat in the audience. I'm pretty sure that was everybody. So that's a problem, folks. When we don't show up and get involved, that's what we get. And just like this jail stuff, nobody's going to gripe about anything until it starts hitting your pocketbook, and then it's going to be too late. They've got to figure out a way to pay for this new jail. They're going to push it through. They've basically already said they're going to push it through, but the final vote on hiring this architect did pass. Those that voted no on this architect was Bill Cox, Angela Connor Murphy, Gerald Simmons, Larry Lay, and Don Flatford. Those are your commissioners that voted no. However, it did pass. Let me stipulate that Commissioner Simpson was not in attendance, so we can't hold that against him either. He wasn't there last night. So, but again, that was Bill Cox, Angela Connor Murphy, Gerald Simmons, Larry Lay, and Don Flatford voted no on hiring this architect. So, when it starts affecting your pocket, because we're paying this architect 7% of millions of dollars, y'all got to show up. I wish they would show up asking how we are when it's election time. They only come around when the election come up. From the sheriff to commissioners. That is absolutely 1,000,000% true. I hate to go back to when I was running for county commission out here in the 4th last time. One of my promises was I was going to have a monthly meeting and meet with whoever wants to come, and I wanted to hear your feedback. I wanted your input and that kind of thing. I think that's how it should be. Not for just a commissioner, but everybody. A mayor should be out there asking questions. Well, I hear all the time, well, the mayor's door is open. Okay. That's us going to him. He's a public official. He should be going to the public. He should be asking questions or talking to folks. Once they get elected, they don't care about you again until it's election time, unless they need more money with your taxes and all this kind of thing. And if you don't have to agree with me, that's perfectly fine. But that's the way I look at it. Again, if you're an elected official, you represent the people. How could you be making decisions? How could you be making decisions for the people if you're not out there talking to them? If you're not out there visiting with them? If you're not, I just don't get it. That's just, like I said, I guess my mind works differently. But you're not, if you're not talking to folks, then you're not making decisions for the people. You're making your own decisions. You're making decisions for yourself and making the people deal with the consequences and repercussions. Me, as an elected official, if I was one, it would be different. I would get out. I would talk to people in my community. And even if I was elected in the 4th district, obviously, I would invite people from every district that wanted to come and talk to me or what have you at any of these meetings that I would have and get your opinion. I want to know, how can I make our community better for you? Even if I disagreed with it, if the majority said, we want this done, then it is, as a commissioner, their duty to do that, not what they want or what have you. Well, I hear people all the time, well, we vote for them to represent us, so we give them the ability to do those votes how they want to do. That's not how it works. That's not how this country was built. It was built by communication, and it was built by representation of the people, not one person making a decision for the people, right? That's why we have elections. That's why we vote for somebody who we think will be the best person to represent we the people, not we'll just do what they tell us to do. It's okay. It shouldn't work that way, folks. And keep that in mind next election season. It's coming up, folks, and it'll be here before we're ready for it. But, we just got to find the good people, the right people, and, and again, a lot of the problem is people vote for family members and all this kind of thing. We got to stop doing that. We've got to stop doing the whole, well, we go to church with this guy. We've got to, we do Sunday school with this lady or whatever. I don't care what you do, who's in your family. Let's vote for the right people doing the best that they can do. Let's try to do that this upcoming election season. Anyways, one last thing, talk about here's a perfect example to my little rant right there, okay? Those of you that know where Jogging Lane is, it's the road down there off 33 that Hauser's Tires used to be on. There's a new tire place there now. But there's a guy over there that is moving a lot of dirt and burning some stuff and doing whatever business he does, whatever. So here is a perfect example of when your representation doesn't represent you, but decides to be a bully and does what they want to do and try to force you to do what they want you to do. So down there on Jogging Lane, there's a guy over there and he moves dirt. He bought the property, right? He can do what he wants on it, right? Well, apparently he's got some dumpsters in the road or whatever. I don't know all the circumstances as what kind of business he does and that kind of thing. Larry Lay wants to gripe about this guy because he has a dumpster out there, whatever the case may be. Those of you that know what Jogging Lane is, there ain't any traffic on that road other than down by the tire place and that kind of thing. But Larry Lay wants to gripe about it, right? Larry Lay has had it out for this guy since the guy moved there. How do I know that? Because when the guy first started, moved there and started moving dirt, Larry Lay was complaining back then that this guy was causing too much dirt and dust flying up in the air and it was getting on his pickup truck. Go back it's probably, I don't know, maybe a year ago, or it's been a while, when Larry Lay was talking about this in a county commission meeting. And he was complaining about this guy. And so what happens? Well, like I said, he wants to complain at that time about the dirt being on his car. He never once mentioned that the highway been working, coming through there and moving dirt and all that stuff. All the dirt that was on his vehicle was because this guy across the street. Well, fast forward to now, this guy's got a dumpster in the road down on Jogging Street, and so he wants something done about this guy, and so he made this big speech last night about it, and so the mayor's going to call the highway superintendent and get him to go down there and talk to the guy about blocking the road and what have you. And actually, David Myers had got questioned about it, and David Myers said, "Well, if the highway guy doesn't uh, uh, have any luck getting this guy to cooperate, then the sheriff's going to have to go down there and talk to him, and if that don't work, then we're going to have to proceed other legal means and all this kind of stuff." All because, basically, bottom line, Larry Lay has a problem with this guy and doesn't like the fact that he bought this property across the street. Maybe Larry Lay, this is just me speculating, maybe Larry Lay wanted to buy that property and build a subdivision over there or something like that and missed the chance. I don't know what the bottom line reason behind it is. I just know that Larry Lay's been after this guy for a long time now. But it's a perfect example of an elected official trying to be a bully and get his way. And that's my rant on that. But anyways, I'm burning up out here, folks. And so that's pretty much all I've got on the county commission meeting. Hopefully you learned some stuff. If we move all them prisoners out of the jail and that kind of stuff, that's just asinine. And, but, look who it is. It's the all-powerful Sidney Jesse. He gets his way with everything, seems like. But anyways, hope you enjoyed the podcast. Remember to pray for Andrew's family and friends, like I asked, and remember everybody in your prayers. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight, and we'll be back again next Tuesday night, Lord willing. I think it's crazy how an investigator that is a Sharps Chapel question an inmate didn't have the right to. And what? I'm glad you said that. I had a situation cutting down trees. I'm glad you said that. It was completely slipped my mind, and I apologize. I had some folks contact me, okay? And I told them I'd talk about it on the podcast. So like I said, I apologize. I've had a lot going on. But so here's the situation that happened to some of our citizens. I'm not going to get too specific, okay? But they called me concerned and highly upset. So we had these folks, nice, kind individuals, decide to take it upon themselves to go on some folks' property that didn't belong to them. They didn't own the property, but they decided to go on private property owned by some other folks and decide to start cutting down trees. Maybe y'all don't know it. Maybe you do. Sometimes trees are worth a lot of money. Sometimes they're not, but a lot of times, the right kind of trees and that kind of thing are worth a lot of money. So some of these fine, upstanding individuals went down and they cut down some trees, not on one, not on two, but several properties that they did not own. And they got caught and they got arrested and got interviewed. And so you go through the legal process, you go to court, and you do all this kind of thing. And these folks been going to court, doing everything they're supposed to be doing, and hoping to get justice for the wrong that they were done, and that kind of thing. So what happened? Well, one of them, fine, upstanding individuals, got convicted and has to pay money back for cutting down these trees that apparently were worth a lot of money or whatever. So we get to the other guy that was involved in this situation, and he was at the sheriff's department being interviewed, and I guess the sheriff decided to send another employee of the sheriff's department in there to interview this fine, upstanding individual. And so that goes on, and you go through the court system, and all of a sudden you get a phone call from the district attorney's office that says, "Hey, we've got an issue with your case, and we're going to have to drop the charges on this dude this fine, upstanding individual because old Mr. Sheriff sent an investigator in there to question this guy that wasn't supposed to be interviewing anybody. Actually, was no longer an investigator, had no reason to be in there during the interview. And so therefore, matter of fact, this said investigator has since been terminated and that kind of thing. But because the sheriff decided to do this, we have to drop all the charges. So we've got to let this guy go. And sorry, but because the leader of our law enforcement decided to do something that he shouldn't have, again, and send this guy in there that he even testified was no longer, I probably shouldn't say that, but I will, has testified that this investigator is no longer an investigator, but then sends this investigator in to interrogate a fine, upstanding individual that been on property that they didn't own, cutting down trees that they did not own. So, you know, keep that in mind next time you've got to call law enforcement. And, you know, let me back up. There are a lot of good deputies in Union County, right? A lot of good ones. I can name several. Some of them I consider friends. Some of them I've not met. Some of them, believe it or not, I actually worked with when I was a deputy myself. So there's a lot of good officers. I'm not talking bad about the officers at all. I'm talking about the command staff that continually lets Union County citizens down. We've been on the news so many times because our command staff of the sheriff's department, sheriff included, mainly, lets Union County citizens down. Perfect example. These folks were wrong, went through the correct process to get reconciliation for their wrong, showed up to court not once, but not twice, but many times, probably having to not lose work and all this kind of stuff to go to court, did everything they were supposed to do just to receive a call from the district attorney's office and say, sorry, sheriff's department screwed up. Now we got to dismiss all the charges and that kind of thing. And to me, and I'm not an attorney or anything like that, but to me, their only recourse now is to try to go after these folks civilly that wronged them. And that's going to cost them money and all that kind of thing and all that. But, you know, again, the sheriff's department should be on our side. And like I said, the deputies did a great job, did their job. It was the point that the sheriff sent this guy who should not have been an investigator anymore into the interrogation room and questioned this guy that screwed up the whole case. So if that goes on over a simple case over cutting trees, what other types of cases does that affect? Good question. So anyway, point being, we need better folks in these positions. We need folks that are actually going to have the citizens of Union County best interest at heart and stop letting us down. Plain and simple. Do your job the correct way. Anyways, like I said, just another example of the incompetence of certain individuals that we elected. Anyways, again, join us next week. Same time and same places. We appreciate you joining us on the Dirt Podcast once again. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again. Remember, pray for everybody. Keep everybody in a heart. Just watch your property, peeps, because you never know who will be next in Sharps Chapel with people cutting down your trees. Watch your property, peeps. Not in Sharps Chapel, but watch everywhere, because I heard, well, this just heard, okay, that these folks were going not only in the chapel cutting down trees, they've been several other places. So just be vigilant, folks. Keep your eyes out, and not only for yourself. So this investigator was told during a court hearing that this investigator only does clerical work, but yet this investigator got sent in to do this interrogation, like I said. But let's watch out for one another, folks. Watch out for your neighbors and your friends and your family, and just love one another. That's all I can say about that. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Try to stay out of this heat, folks. Stay hydrated. And love you, mean it. See you next time.
You just heard The Dirt, digging to the bottom of every situation to get the truth with your host, Jason Mills. Tune in next week at the same time for another Dirt broadcast.